All right, Mickey 17. We just finished watching that, and this is going to be our full review. Spoilers, non-spoilers, everything in between. Let's see, what do we think about that film? All right, we will start with the non-spoilers. Even though we just did a TikTok, go check the TikTok out. The cinema calendar on TikTok with horrible audio.
We promise we'll get better audio next time. That was
We'll
actually
work on that as
insane.
we go. We're learning. I guess non-spoiler, we will kind of reiterate and go a little bit more in depth. This is Mickey 17, based on the novel Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton.
Yes,
Okay.
Edward Ashton, correct.
And this was directed by...
The same person that directed Parasite
I got it.
directed this movie.
It's Bong
Canceled.
Joon
Canceled.
Ho. Bong Joon Ho comes back with another film speaking about how bad society is. No, in all honesty, this is a good film about what? Robert Pattinson's character, Mickey
Barnes. Mickey Barnes.
Who had a debt on Earth, so he leaves, goes into outer space on this expedition with several other characters, including Steven Yeun, Nasha, which is played by
Naomi Aki.
All right, perfect. And also Mark Ruffalo as like the main bad villain. They're trying to colonize a planet, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the gist of it. Yeah, and he has literally the worst job anybody could ever have.
Yeah. Like worse than your 9 to 5, I promise.
Yeah, for sure.
This guy's whole job is
Like imagine you worked your 9 to 5 and you killed yourself and then you woke back up. That's his job, bro.
This guy's
It's
literally
insane.
just the fucking SpongeBob episode where it's just, hi, I'm normal. Just killing himself every time though.
Aki was the lead actress in Blink Twice.
Okay, wow. Hey, she's actually a pretty good actor. I'll give her that. And she plays her part well in this film. But yeah, Mr. Mickey Barnes is expendable, and he kind of just goes through this whole expedition route, and they're on the planet Niflheim.
Niflheim, yeah.
The Norse mythology planet, I guess.
Or the planet with the Norse mythology reference.
Yeah, it's a reference to that, I guess. Which is a really good reference, honestly, because it's just like an ice planet.
Yeah.
So Robert Pattinson killed it just like always. That's my Batman.
That's your Batman?
Nah, I'm playing. Christian Bale always, but still, Robert Pattinson really did kill it in this film as well. He was acting as several different personalities working in the same area, so you can only see so many actors. We were talking about this earlier with
Eddie Murphy,
Willem Dafoe, the guy from Split, forget his name.
James McAvoy.
Regardless, only so many actors can portray different personalities at the same time on screen, and like basically acting by yourself. All that stuff is just really hard to do, and so Robert Pattinson does pretty well in this film. Mark Ruffalo also really reminded me of Grandmaster from Thor Ragnarok. Like, basically the same character in my opinion. I know you said it reminds you of Donald Trump.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Hey, fair enough.
He also looks like the way his costume was set up. Like he just reminded me of like a Whoville cat, like a Whoville.
Yeah. He was very like cartoonish.
Yeah.
Which there was actually like some pretty cartoony things in this film.
Like his hairdo was funny to me.
Yeah.
His teeth were like, I don't know if those were his real teeth, but they were so big, bro.
His whole character was just like super cartoony and outlandish.
Yeah, and like super exaggerated.
Super exaggerated. You know, he wanted to be God.
And his wife, super manipulative.
His wife,
super conniving. Toni Collette. Another standout in the movie.
She's a really big standout. She was the mother in Hereditary, my favorite horror film of all time. And there's one scene in this film where she's crying, and I will never forget that face. It is literally the exact same face she has in Hereditary. She is super like
emotive,
yeah. She's just, her expressions are I love it. I really do.
The story, while bland, was complex enough.
Yeah, I agree. It was a pretty bland, bleak story, but it did have some moving parts all around. And again, this is a Bong Joon Ho film, so it's always going to have that complexity and like interlying themes that it always has. That was pretty decent. The writing was also pretty solid. I'm not going to say the best. All around, this film has nothing excellent. Okay, that was the big main issue that we were talking about earlier. Nothing in this film is like a 10. Nothing in this film is perfect, the best. It has literally nothing that is like, wow, a big wow factor.
Yeah, I mean the sets are pretty bland.
Yeah.
The story is still pretty bland. They do this thing at the end where like they sort of, I guess, dissect the character for you instead of letting you come to all these conclusions on your own. and it happens like super loudly and in front of everybody.
Yeah.
It's like its own thing. It's one of those things where like they hold your hand like, all right, if you haven't figured it out already,
Right.
like this is, and things like that sort of ruin it for me, where they feel like you're dumb, and it's like, all right,
Yeah, you kind of get treated like you don't know what's going on. Here you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I don't like that either. So to me, it definitely didn't end well. On a note that things we didn't enjoy, the ending was really bad, honestly. It just didn't tie everything in together like nicely. You know, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, and it just didn't end well to me. You know, it kind of just ended on like a soft, shitty note.
Yeah, they're one of those things where like it sort of like narrates the ending for you.
Yeah, which is never good. You know, Long Legs did the same thing, and to me, that killed Long Legs. Even though Long Legs was a really good film, right?
Yeah.
Again, any narration at the end of a story to me,
The
just
narration to me like wasn't the issue. It was like what the narration told you, where
Yeah.
it was just basically just like, all right, this is everything that happened. Like in case you missed it,
yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean? It did essentially the same thing. The narration
Not
here
my-
wasn't the bad part. It was more so that like the movie sort of gave you all of this stuff, and then like it was too much for it, and so it just wrapped it up with a narration at the end.
Right.
So it was just like, okay, you didn't know what to do, or like there wasn't enough budget, or whatever the case is. So you just decided to just like, all right, this is what happened with this person, this is what happened with this person, this is what happened with this person, and they all live happily ever after the end, sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like maybe with the budget that it was getting and also just the runtime, because it did get to a 2 hour 20 minute mark. So
Yeah.
pretty long film in
Yeah.
all honesty. Maybe they did waste all the budget on the CGI from like all the creatures, as there are creatures in this film. Maybe it got all the budget as well with like some of the cloning. The cloning was really dense in CGI. You could see all the ligaments and all that stuff, especially at the end. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe it did just run out of, and it was
Too many decent actors too.
yeah. It just had too much going for it that at the end they couldn't really bring it all together. Unfortunately, I feel like maybe if it had a little bit more time and definitely a little bit more money, possibly it could have been a better all around story. But
It might have dragged though at that point.
all right, we're gonna talk about spoilers now. So if you don't want to hear anything and you want to go watch this film blindly, I would go skip to the end where we give our rating if you want to. If not, you can click off now. Thank you for watching. Spoilers. We were talking about this earlier, where like this film had no crazy good cinematography. None of
Yeah.
the shots were insane on this,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. This
Yeah.
shit just
For a movie about like space, it was kind of what like there were no cool space shots. There was one scene where he's like fixing something very early on in his little spacesuit, but it was blah. It was whatever. It was essentially just like it was played for a joke. Which also, by the way, the comedy in this movie was
not
whatever.
It. Yeah, not it. Not
It
it
was
at all.
whatever. I didn't think it was that funny.
I don't think like I don't know. From all the Bong Joon Ho films that I've seen, the comedy in those films to me are a lot more darker, and they kind of add to the themes, add to the story. To me, this was kind of like a deterrent from the themes and story.
I mean, sometimes
Some,
like
yeah, some of them
sometimes.
were blatant though too, right? With I don't know, like Steven Yeun's character, right? His whole comedy, especially when he's gonna go kill Mickey at the end, right? With
Yeah.
like the chainsaw and shit like that. When he starts crying, it's blatantly fake, okay? And everyone knows that. Even Naisha was like, "All right, stop fucking crying. You're being a bitch," and all this shit. And he just immediately stops crying, right? I don't know, that whole scene to me was off, because yes, it was supposed to be like a funny, all right, I gotta kill you, if not I get killed type
Yeah.
shit. But it just wasn't good. I feel like that could have been a much better comedic scene without being so blatantly obvious, and just
I also feel like it could have maybe held some more weight if I was so sure that they were gonna kill 18
yeah.
and not 17.
Yeah.
Especially since 18 was the one that tried to kill him, and it was a good way for them to both get off scot free.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
But and then he just completely, like, even his friend was like, "Yo, I thought you would kill 18." He was like, "Yeah, you just think that, but never mind."
I don't know. I don't know.
What?
I guess it was sort of a way to like subvert our expectations, but it like
Didn't
there's
do
no
well.
good reasoning in there. They also like I'm not a real big fan of people not getting there like just like he was a terrible friend.
Horrible.
Like I wanted him to pay for being a terrible friend, and like that never happened. He's
Even
just
at the- yeah.
he's just like a jerk that sort of just somehow some way always gets his way. Like
end
his
there,
yeah, like his story
where-
literally ended with like him going to trial and
Yeah,
winning the trial.
and winning the trial with no one caring. Basically, they were literally like, no one cared. Like, he got his trial, and then it was dead silent. Everyone get their verdict, and boom. And then it goes, oh, but our verdict for all of us, it was up in arms. That's why Naisha went into the committee.
Yeah.
All that shit, right? Narration-wise, though, it even showed, like, Stephen Yeun getting attacked by the friend of whatever his
By the
name
debt
was.
collector.
By the debt collector.
Yeah.
And still, he somehow came out unscathed. Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a couple of cuts. But, bro, that was like a 6'6", fucking 280-pound man. No way Stephen Yeun's beating his ass.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, fight or flight, man.
Hey, I guess so.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a lot of this film felt spoon-fed to me as well, with some of the ideas and all that. Also, the creatures to me were really pointless. It wasn't not pointless. Sorry, just really like bad. They were super peaceful creatures, which cool, but no fight at all. I guess that was their point, that like these creatures aren't even fighting, and we're still gonna try and take over this planet and kill all of them.
Yeah.
I understand, but even at the end there, where they're like, oh, can you actually kill us with the high vibration noise? And then, no, it was a bluff. It was a joke. They played it off. Like, come on.
I guess I think it was less of a joke thing and more of just to prove the point that, like, they are high functioning organisms, like beings that were able to be smart enough to like
threaten them without any threat.
Yeah, to have a false threat. And like that was like sort of the main thing. There were other things too that like okay, there's like this whole scene in the when like Mickey he gets invited to a dinner, and essentially gets fed poison food, like because they're experimenting with like he's a lab rat.
Right.
He's a reusable lab rat. They test these foods on him. He ends up almost dying, and of course the one of the other girl's name, I can't remember. She's really not all that important to the story. Ends up speaking up for him, and I don't know, like scenes like that I feel like would be way better if she was silent and you were sort of just there, and you sort of like made your own decisions about what was going on instead of her just talking about like he's a person, how could you treat him like this?
Yeah.
XYZ, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Same thing with Nasha's speech at the end, like towards the end of the movie, when
she's comforting Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
like,
about being a
fuck 100 times.
Yeah, where she confronts him about essentially being a dictator who's egocentric, who's trying to take land from his species, who keeps calling them aliens even though we're invading their space. Calls him an idiot, which he is, like super, like very easily like manipulate. Like it's just like you know what I mean?
Yeah, she's basically saying everything wrong with his character, and then he kind of just plays it off as a joke. It's like, oh, whatever, you're gonna die anyway.
But again, like that's just one of those things where it's like they're like, just in case you didn't know he was all of these things.
Yeah.
He's all of these things.
Also, just her whole speech, it just felt so preachy. Now, we're the aliens. We're doing this. You don't even know. They're peaceful creatures, this and that. Also, just her whole... She can say all of that. But right before that, she was like, no, can we talk to the head scientist? These creatures saved Mickey.
Yeah.
They weren't going to listen to her. Anyways.
Yeah.
She should have known that.
Yeah.
The same people that just killed Mickey 16 times, really. But... she thought they were going to listen and be like, oh, no, these creatures are peaceful for sure. They're trying to save people. They're not trying to hurt us.
Yeah.
You think she was like some dumb shit in this film, but all around came off preachy and just spoon-fed also.
Yeah.
I feel like we're shitting on this film a lot, but it really did have like a lot of things that were just all right. I mean, this was a solid film. I will reiterate that. Solid film. Did get me immersed. I sat down, I fully watched the film, and I felt like I was part of that world. But it was a bland world. It didn't have much to offer. And when I left that theater, I just kind of felt like, man, that's all I got?
Yeah.
Especially for a film from a man that directs things that are so much more telling and so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, I loved Parasite.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could have... I don't know what they could have done differently. I feel like it maybe would have been easier to, like, sort of humanize the aliens in a sense, like literally, make them human-like. So that
instead of just giant cockroaches.
Yeah, so so you feel more empathy. Like cutting out the preachy speeches. I think is another one that like is like really good, because like in the beginning I feel like I wasn't already getting that, like especially with like with so like there's like whenever he's out there doing certain things, and the way they're walking him through it is like it's like they're talking to like an animal,
right?
Like genuinely like a walking crash test dummy.
Yeah.
and they look like, bro. There are some there's some scenes that are just like. So like he gets literally like printed like they like, and I guess they try to hammer home the fact that he's essentially like a piece of paper. So like there's scenes where like they're like he's coming out of the printer and like they're just ignoring him, and like there's nothing underneath to catch him from like out the printer. He's just like falling out of the printer. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that where it's like, okay, that's pretty funny, and also hammers home the fact that they don't care about this guy at all. There's even a scene in there where he's died like whatever 10 plus times, and like they're about to throw him into the whatever, the recycling bin again, and they're like, wait, he's alive, and he's like, and I'm like, so what? And they just throw him in there anyway. I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, those are cool. I like that. Yes, I understand that they don't treat him like a person,
Right.
but don't spend the whole like show their callousness in other ways, because they treat him that way because that's genuinely it's what he signed up for, regardless of what that's a job he signed up for. But also, like, it just makes more sense to me for them to show that in people who are also actually mortal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of like when the president or whatever you want to call him dies, and like the wife sort of reacts in a certain way. You're like, oh shoot, like, you know what I mean? Like, how you feel right there is like how Mickey was like essentially feeling every day.
Every day, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and his friends. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like things like that weren't explored.
Also, I don't like Mickey 18's death. I understand it was like a heroic hurrah at the end where he was like, you know what? I am scared, but I'm doing this because I'm selfless. Even though the whole time he hasn't been selfless.
Yeah,
he kind of has been though. He's been trying to protect.
Not that he wasn't selfless. He was just really brash and like
He was the only Mickey that was like different.
Yeah, he was essentially like, how can I put it? Like, he's how Mickey should have been.
Yeah, that's true.
Like about like everything he felt about like Mickey from like a third person point of view is how Mickey himself should have felt about himself.
Right.
Because like it got to the point where even Mickey saw himself as disposable.
Exactly.
Because he was already so comfortable with the fact that, hey, like, if I die, they're just gonna reprint me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was literally just like, all right, whatever.
So yeah, Mickey 18. I liked his character. In all honesty, it was a good refresh of everything, and trying to get what they deserved. The fact he was so pissed at him, it was like, what they do at you, what they do to you at dinner.
Yeah.
And he was yelling at him, and he's like, it's not your fault. I'm gonna get this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And they get all his trouble.
Because he gets genuinely upset because he doesn't like his response to literally almost dying in like the dining room like during that dinner was that like he said thank you for the dinner.
Yeah.
And Mickey 18 was like they almost kill you and you tell them thank you. Like he was gonna lose it, bro.
He did lose it. He literally almost killed the guy.
Yeah.
But then at the end, he does get to kill Mark Ruffalo's character, which well deserved. But I don't know. He just blows himself up, and then we just get a scene of Mickey 17 and Naisha just watching, and they'll be like,
yeah.
And then it just cuts.
I mean, okay, and then that's one of the other things that kind of bothered me with like Mark Ruffalo's death. The entire movie, at least to me, he is like this, I don't want to say bumbling idiot, but he's just like not smart. And all of his decisions were decisions that he never made. Like they were just like, he had all these people like telling him what to do, manipulating him very easily with like compliments and things like that, where they would just be like, hey, like do this, that. This would look really good. He'd be like, that would look really good if I just did this.
Right.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Like, get the camera ready. Right. Or like his wife would tell him something and he'd parrot whatever she would tell him.
100%.
And then
the
at
whole
the
idea
end,
for letting the Mickeys go out there and get their tails was all her.
Yeah. So then at the end, he's there about to die, and now all of a sudden he's like not a master manipulator because obviously it doesn't work. Yeah. But like that's sort of what I wanted to see from him. Where he was just like, oh, you're scared too. Like, oh, that means you're human.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And he was essentially trying to like coerce him into just being like, yo, like chill out, like that to me, I was like, shoot, like, but like, where did this come from? Because like if that, you know what I mean? And I guess it sort of makes sense in the sense that like he was essentially a failed politician,
right? Like
he never was able to win the hearts of anybody, but that to me would have made for a more interesting story if you could sort of see like how like genuinely how he manipulated all these people.
Yeah, no, seriously, because how did he get all these people on his side and making him the boss? Or maybe it was just all the people pulling the strings behind him that were
Yeah,
so
but
strong
even
and
they, but
powerful.
nothing they ever did made sense either.
No.
You know what I mean? So like, I just
Yeah, people were just scared and all, but even with that, I don't know. His character, Mark Ruffalo's character, was not the best.
yeah,
And honestly, I loved. I'll touch on this thing because I really did think this could have been a really cool ending if they played this right, where they had a dream section for Mickey 17, where he saw the wife. I forget her name. He saw the wife cloning
yeah. Mark Ruffalo's
Mark
wife.
Ruffalo's character again, and he sees him pumping out. She's just talking to him, basically like, "What are you gonna do? Am I alive? Am I dead?" And at this point, we didn't know it was
A
a
dream.
dream. And so it was really cool. I was like, oh shit, is he gonna stand up? Is he gonna kill them both? Is he gonna do something cool? This could have been, or maybe is Mark Ruffalo gonna be back, but this time actually be more successful? Something, I don't know. I felt like they could have brought that into a much better ending or a better second half of the film, and it just wasn't. It was just, this is a dream off, and then boom, cuts, ending of the film basically. I don't know. All around, there were a lot of things that this film could have done much better, especially with, again, the director being so amazing and his works usually doing fantastic. This time, kind of laid an egg, unfortunately. Still solid film though. It's an enjoyable film, especially
Yeah.
if you like sci-fi.
Yeah, the romance. I think the romance is really cool.
I agree.
All right, I like the romance. The comedy wasn't great, but there, it has its moments, and I guess for the most part, like if something like Parasite was too much for you, this is definitely like a more entry level film.
Yeah,
into sort of
I
like
agree.
okay, like films with like super overarching themes and what
Right.
they mean. You could sort of watch this movie because it holds your hand so much.
Yeah, so this is
like,
gonna have a film with overarching themes about society being evil and bad.
self acceptance,
So-
self worth.
Right, it has all these themes in it, and on top of that, it's gonna have your favorite actors. It's in a sci-fi land. It has a cool. It's based off a novel, so it has all these things that you can get into it with, and you can be fully immersed. But it doesn't do anything incredibly well
Yeah.
either. So
Yeah.
this is not gonna be your Oscar-winning film. This is not gonna be the best horror film of the year. This is not gonna be the best sci-fi film of anything. This is genuinely just a solid film that you'll watch one time in the theater. You might enjoy, you might not, and you'll probably never think or talk about it again.
Yeah.
I don't think I will ever reference this film for Bong Joon Ho ever.
Yeah.
That's genuinely.
Yeah, like
So,
like when you compare it to something like Parasite, it's like it to me.
Parasite got a 99%.
it doesn't hold a
like-
candle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's really hard to get to that, but also all of his other works did really well too. So this one just felt more like maybe this was for a younger audience, maybe for
Yeah.
teenagers. Mm-hmm. But it was okay. So we gave Mickey 17 a 7 out of 10.
Basically average,
Basically average.
Basically average.
Solid.
bland.
Anyway, if you agree with us or disagree with us, you can let us know in the comments or on TikTok like you always do. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate all the support. Check us out on all the platforms, and we will see you in our podcast episode coming out
Next
on
week.
Next week, Sunday. So see you then while we watch every other film in the theaters. All right.